So after the parade, hopefully the viewers will go home and tune in. Outstanding coverage. What began in 1868 as Remembrance Day, Decoration Day, when flowers were strewn on the graves of those who made the ultimate sacrifice. The tradition continues here into 1999, and school children will make their way to the National Cemetery and put flowers on the graves of those who fought and died here at Gettysburg, those who made the ultimate sacrifice. And we honor all those from all wars, including Vietnam, and that's why this Remembrance Day, if you will, is particularly significant. The Wall That Heals has been here in Gettysburg for the last 4 to 5 days down at the Gettysburg College campus, and it's been kind of a catharsis, if you will, for many Vietnam veterans, many people who know about Vietnam, want to learn more about it. It's been educational, and those people are finally getting the memoriam that they deserve, all those great Americans that fought in Vietnam. We're here with a great team of coverage. We thank all those who have helped make themselves a part of this really excellent event, the 1999 Memorial Day Parade. It'll only be a matter of moments before the divisions start to come down Baltimore Street, so stay tuned and get ready for excitement, the annual 1999 Gettysburg Memorial Day Parade. Sounds good for me.
I'll put you right in front of the dignitaries.
Where would that be about at?
It's on the street here.
Oh,
She's
there's a number.
Hello, I'm Pam Frankenfield. I'm here for AC Television, ACTV in Gettysburg. We're at the Memorial Day Parade 1999, and as you can see, they're staging here to get ready for the big parade. Right here we see James Geddes in the background. We had a wonderful interview with him just recently, the man who portrays Abraham Lincoln, and you'll be able to see that on ACTV as well. Jim Geddes of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Mr. Geddes, we're here seated very near a famous monument here. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Albert Wilson was from way, way up in Minnesota, and he came into the Civil War as a drummer boy, probably lied about his age and got in early. And a number of young fellows did that. And he was the very last one to die, I think, in 1956. And he was a member, as a veteran of that war, he was a member of the Grand Army of the Republic. And this statue signifies that. The Grand Army of the Republic was started in my state of Illinois. In fact, the first chapter was in Springfield. And after the war, veterans needed to have a voice in Congress for their needs, be it pension or care for family or medical attention. So Richard Oglesby, who would become the governor of Illinois and have been a major general in the Union Army, and General John Logan, two Illini, both organized this GAR. And one of the things that they did was to bring about a national Memorial Day. And so that's coming upon us now, so it's significant we're here in front of this particular statue and about to celebrate that great Memorial Day.
What a great story. I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in that. I've lived here several years and never knew the history of that. I have a question with regard to your thoughts as an individual. What thoughts come to your mind on the importance and the significance of Memorial Day?
Well, it's really a time to remember, to reflect, and go back. We never had that day during my lifetime. As I say, it came later. And first I should have said it was Decoration Day, and then later became known as Memorial Day. But we did much the same thing on 4th of July. We remembered our past, our families who had been involved maybe in military experiences or something connected with the country. Decoration Day is really to honor those who gave their final ounce of devotion to the country. We would say that Veterans Day in the fall is a little different than that. We recognize all veterans, but now this is a time to remember those who have given the supreme sacrifice. And Gettysburg especially should be memorable in that, because it was here that Lincoln would come and give his Gettysburg Address in November of '63, honoring those who had fallen and who had fought here, but those who had certainly fallen, and they were buried at his feet. So there's a significance with Gettysburg, I do believe, and the whole idea of remembering what has happened in our country. And so for the families who bring their children here, they're getting a hands-on view, so to speak, a touch of history in actually walking the fields and seeing where this all occurred.
It's interesting also that I've seen you as President Lincoln on several occasions, giving a Gettysburg Address. And I've always wanted to ask you this question: how do you keep this presentation fresh, and after having done it hundreds, maybe thousands of times?
Well, it's significant in the fact that if you have first-time listeners, you want them to get in the significance of how it might have come across at that time and the sincerity with which it was given. The Gettysburg Address is applicable even to today, where he stated those words that live on. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the great task remaining before us. And I don't think that there's ever a time goes by when I say it that I take the words lightly. I never put it on an automatic pilot and go with it. I'm always thinking that it's a wonderful opportunity for me to try to communicate Lincoln's words to whoever might be listening to it that day. So I feel most fortunate in that I can do that. And I think it's a responsibility, but it's also a great honor to be voicing the words of the great emancipator.
Which brings me to another one. When did you first begin to do Lincoln and the presentations, and what motivated you to do this?
It was all really just an accidental thing. I was teaching high school choral music out in Ohio, and I decided I would grow a beard, and with shaving a mustache, not allowing the mustache to grow. The beard came in with a Lincoln-esque look. People commented about that. At that time, in the early 70s, Holbrook was doing Mark Twain as a one-man show. So I think that gave me the idea that maybe I could create Lincoln, but I would have to know a lot about him. I knew nothing about him. So the research started in the early 70s, and Joanne and I moved here in '77 to start our own little theater where I could perform in a one-man show. And so we've been involved with Lincoln here and around the country since '77.
And where is the furthest you've traveled to portray that president?
San Diego, yeah. I've been in Toronto for, Canadians have a great interest in our history. I've spoken to the Ontario Social Studies convention. I've spoken to a lot of schools in Toronto. We get a lot of schools coming from Canada here. They'll come to Gettysburg, Washington, and Williamsburg, and what they study, college-bound students studying U.S. history and Canadian relations. So all over the States, but as far away as San Diego, I guess.
Well, that's pretty far. Now that you're living and have lived since 1977 in Gettysburg, what kind of an influence has that had on your life itself?
You're in touch with it every day here, and when you're away from it, you do miss it. And so I think that just being able to live here and steeped in the history that it's in, looking out as I do now to the scenic mountains and knowing we're so close to Washington, D.C. and Baltimore and Philadelphia for an earlier history, that all of that has just fit in, that I've really loved it all.
Now, when you go somewhere not dressed as Lincoln, do people still look at you and immediately connect you to Lincoln? Somebody, say for example, far away where you're not dressed as Lincoln?
Yes, that happens, and I'm sure it's all in what I call just the magic of the beard. That's that. Nobody before I grew the beard ever came up and said, well, you look like an unshaved Lincoln, or a shaved Lincoln. Before Lincoln grew the beard, we have pictures of him with no beard. And if you looked at pictures of me with no beard, you wouldn't say, well, he looks like the young Lincoln. It all happened with the growth of whiskers, I think.
Would you tell us the story of how Lincoln got his beard, by the way? Because I think that's interesting, too.
It is, because they're commemorating a memorial statue to Lincoln and the little girl up in Westfield, New York on the 10th of July this year. Her name was Grace Bedell. She didn't know Lincoln. She had seen a Currier and Ives print of him, and she wrote to him as an 11-year-old girl, and women couldn't vote. But she said, I heard my brothers talking about you, and they said something about that they might vote for you if you were a little better looking. Now, that's a very poor excuse to vote for anybody because of that. But she said, I really think you'd do yourself a favor, maybe mask the ears a little bit, if you would grow whiskers. So Lincoln took her up on that, and he actually not only grew the beard, but on his train ride from Springfield to Washington, the inaugural train ride, they were on their way up to Buffalo to have a weekend conference with former President Millard Fillmore. And the train stopped in Westfield, and he made a short speech from his train car there. And, of course, the crowd included the parents and the little girl, and he got to meet her. They held her up to his...
Talking about the beard, how did Lincoln get his beard? Because that's an interesting story.
During the year he was running for president, he received a letter from Grace Bedell. She was 11 years old at the time, lived up in Westfield, New York. And she had evidently seen a Currier and Ives print of him. And she had the courage to write and introduce herself. She said, my brothers were talking that, and they're old enough to vote, that they might vote for you if you were a little better looking. Now, that's a poor reason to vote for anybody. But he understood what she was saying, that he wasn't the most handsome man to be running for president. So he did take her letter seriously, and he grew the beard. He would get to stop in her hometown on the way to Washington by a curious event. Seward, his Secretary of State, wanted him to travel up from Cleveland and go to Buffalo to have a weekend conference with Millard Fillmore. And so they arranged for a stop in Westfield, and there were several hundred at the station to hear him make a talk from the rear of his platform train car. And the girl was there with her parents, and they held her up to him, gave him a bouquet of yellow roses she had. And so he got to meet the little girl, Grace Bedell. Now, it's interesting that this year, in '99, on the 10th of July, they're commemorating a memorial in the park in Westfield. It's a small town right on the lake, and in which Lincoln, as one figure, is greeting the little girl. So they're facing each other. So I'm going to be going up to help dedicate the statue, and delighted over that, but it's a true story.
More of the travels of James Getty as you portray President Abraham Lincoln. And thank you for allowing us to have this time with you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Pam.
Moments. This year's Memorial Day Parade in memory of Mr. Walter Hess, who died during this past year, 104 years old. Mr. Hess was a World War I veteran and friend to many here in the community. At the conclusion of the parade, the festivities will move to the cemetery, where Don Troiani will be the featured speaker. Mr. Troiani, an artist of very high caliber. He's had an unparalleled career as a military artist and historian, and has focused his talents on the American soldier. He'll be the featured speaker. His paintings of the Battle of Gettysburg give insight and honor to the conflict between Americans, which occurred here 136 years ago. The Gettysburg High School Marching Band leads the way. The format pretty much the same from year to year, but that doesn't stop people from coming out by the hundreds. It's the unofficial start of the summer season, busy with tourists, but more importantly, it's a chance to pay homage to the great patriots who made the ultimate sacrifice so that we might all enjoy the sweet taste of freedom. And it's actually the Gettysburg Area Middle School, the Braves Band. These youngsters weathering the heat at parade time in the upper 80s. Fortunately, not a lot of humidity. Patriotic songs will be the norm. Gettysburg Times photographer Josh Dooley gets a candid. John Philip Sousa, the greatest march composer of history, honored here. Majorettes enjoying this beautiful day in the neighborhood. And now the color guard, followed by the woodwinds and then the brass section, the Gettysburg Middle School Band. Be kind to your friends in the swamp, for a duck may be somebody's mother. Dr. David Mowry and Dr. Fred Gwynn lead the way. The children will make the trek to the cemetery where they will decorate the graves of the fallen. They have the flowers and the flags, and they're making a sacrifice too. It is hot out there, and the teachers as well. School winding down, and the teachers can count the days on both hands. Littlestown, 3 days of school left. And this is the elementary school band. More students, armed only with flowers and flags to pay the peaceable tribute to the fallen. And now the police escort, Gettysburg's finest. Great job by the middle school and elementary school bands. Sergeant Doug McKinney leading the way. Representatives of the Pennsylvania State Police here as well. And the Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Newman. Tossing some candy for the youngsters. And a fond word of remembrance for the predecessor of Sheriff Rocky Newman. Sheriff Bernard Miller served so many years with distinction for all of us here in Adams County, and Bernie passed away several months ago, and we miss you, Bernie, and you would have been right there in that squad car, never missed a parade. Chance to reflect on the memory of Sheriff Bernie Miller. The U.S. Park Service, part of the triumvirate of law enforcement agencies that provide the borough of Gettysburg with outstanding security, and now the Military Honor Guard. This is actually the Pennsylvania State Police ceremonial color guard.
Maybe try something else. Go, you know, like 10 feet up that way. Because we're getting the same stuff. Yeah, whatever you want to set up, I think might be good. Just pick out something like this.
Coast Guard, representatives from the fighting vessel named after battles. And this is the USS Gettysburg. They do many outstanding service projects in the community, at least 1 or 2 major service projects each summer. So we'll be no doubt visited by the fighting men and women of the USS Gettysburg later in the summer. Always try to welcome them to the community, and I know they feel welcome. And they are. Zembo Temple Color Guard coming up, and followed by the Zembo Temple Highlanders. Pretty good day to be wearing a kilt. Nice breeze. Low humidity, although the temperature is in the upper 80s. The Zembo Temple Color Guard and the Zembo Temple Highlanders. I love a parade and I love a bagpipe band. And we know that you do too. Hope you're enjoying this exclusive same-day parade coverage here on Adams Community Television. Where's Mel Gibson? Takes you back to Braveheart. A representative of the Zembo Temple Potentate. They're here every year. There are various divisions, and for obvious reasons, the Mounted Patrol will mark the conclusion of the Memorial Day Parade. The Adams County Shrine Club here in attendance. The honorary parade marshal is Don Troiani. The guest speaker, Brian Pohanka. The chairman of the GJVMDC, Lewis Welsh. Master of Ceremonies out at the cemetery will be our state representative, Stephen Maitland. Here's the Gettysburg High School Marching Band under the direction of Ben Jones. Great teamwork by the Majorettes. As always, the crowd very receptive, very supportive. This is Americana right here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a great tradition. What you want about this parade, but there's only one. Gettysburg Memorial Day Parade. All others pale in comparison. and daughters, the Gettysburg Warrior Marching Band. U.S. Navy Color Guard. Don Troiani and Brian Pohanka, the speakers. They're headed out to the cemetery where they will take their place on the rostrum. This is our mayor, the Honorable William E. Troxel, Mayor of Gettysburg. There's the mayor. Greetings, Mayor. Can't help but think of mayors past, including the great Frank Lynn. Many a parade he took a vital part in. There's our representative, Steve Maitland. He'll be the master of ceremonies for the gravesite remembrance festivities. Wayne Hill will be the soloist, riding shotgun in the Corvette. This is a Civil War Honor Guard. Federal units. Senior Vice Commander-in-Chief Danny Wheeler of the SUVCW. And this is Jenny Wade, the only civilian killed in the Battle of Gettysburg. Took a bullet while baking bread, and she's here with us today. As we in our festivities have also paid homage to George Sando, the first Gettysburg resident killed in local fighting, the DAR chapter of Gettysburg. Uncle Sam is here as well. If that doesn't make you want to pay taxes, I don't know what does. Mr. Lincoln has his military escort, the 11th Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry Fifes and Drums of Gettysburg, as well as the mounted escort, James Getty, will provide the famous Gettysburg Address. Out at the cemetery, Mr. President, looking dapper as usual. Mr. President. A soldier trying to catch up with his unit. Doing double time. Reenactors in those wool uniforms, they're feeling the effects of that 85-degree heat. You have some idea what it must have been like if you've never reenacted in the field. It's quite an experience wearing the authentic wool in 85-degree heat. Pennsylvania reenactment units. Looks like President Grant, perhaps. Well, no cigar, so I guess it's not President Grant. Not listed in the program that way. Still have 5 full divisions to go, including the Cub Scouts and Brownies, and although actually they've been going out of order from the printed program here to some extent, but you know when you see the mounted Zembo patrol that the end of the parade is near. Those of you looking for local sports on ACTV, we're taking a 1-week hiatus. We'll be back next Monday, June 7th, game of the week, Elks Bank, PNC Bank, followed by Schindler and Docks, a doubleheader. That'll be next Monday at 4 and next Thursday at 7:30. General Custer, the flamboyant Union colonel, who saved the day by preventing Jeb Stuart and his forces from joining the fray at Gettysburg over at the East Cavalry Field between here and Hanover. Custer, of course, went on to great fame in the West, met his demise in 1876 at Little Bighorn, but 14 years previously, he was a subordinate officer doing a heck of a job out on what is now Route 116. Fought Jeb Stuart and his people to a standstill and enabled the Union to prevail. So Custer got a lot of positive ink out of that series of events. Met his demise, Memorial Day, Remembrance Day, Decoration Day. He got it started in 1868. General Logan of the Grand Army of the Republic instituted the celebration, more of a tribute, and every year since then it's been a huge part of the Gettysburg scene. The Gettysburg Battlefield Detachment number 705 of the Marine Corps League, some GIs, Marines, Semper Fi, always faithful to God and country. I want to thank all the outstanding crew members that have helped out on this project, and I can't even name them all, so hopefully they're going to get credit somewhere here at the end of this broadcast. A great team. It's just a pleasure to be a part of it. What a difference a year makes. Last year I dribbled my camera on the way to the location. I wasn't sure if it would work. It bounced a couple times on the sidewalk, and I shot the whole thing. Could barely see into the eyepiece. Now we have multiple cameras, multiple technicians. Ira Meistrick doing an outstanding job of editing the whole piece together. He's been the genius behind the project, and it's just been a pleasure to see it all come together, and hopefully you viewers at home are enjoying it as well. The Veterans Medical Transport Program. Coming up, the Lincoln Lodge. We just saw Veterans of Foreign War Post 15 And the Gettysburg Auxiliary, Sons of the American Legion from American Legion Post 202 as well. And these are participants from Lincoln Lodge, and they had a parade yesterday, this past Sunday, to honor all the African Americans who paid the ultimate price, many of whom are buried in Lincoln Cemetery. It's great to see all the lodge members out this afternoon. American Red Cross is here. Gentlemen from the lodge. Gentlemen in white tux. Aid to military personnel and families. Adams County chapter of the American Red Cross, doing some great things around the world. Pam Frankenfield doing a great job with her poster, letting everybody know that the parade will be on parade coverage. 5 hours of parade coverage tonight, 4 till 9. Some military vehicles come into view, and they'll be followed by the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. Listed in the program simply as military vehicles. They speak for themselves. Some might call them Jeeps. Your News also returns next Monday night at 7:30. News and Views, Sports Chat, your calls, 334-3000. We're taking a break for this special, but we'll be back next Monday and every Monday with Your News. I'll be your host for News and Views, Deb McCausland. The What's Happening Lady will tell you about events in our local community. Rusty Springstead and Wendy Bayshaw provide the financial report. Your News, live from our studio at 44C Franklin Street. The Zembo Mounted Patrol has just crested the horizon. It's an indication that the last few divisions may be compressed. Post PA 30, veterans of the Vietnam War out of Lancaster, PA. I don't know. It doesn't look like a survivor in the back there. Reverend McGaskill riding shotgun in this Mustang. Reverend Robert McGaskill, who'll be providing the invocation and the closing prayer out at the festivities. The Brownies are here and the Cub Scouts. They've got more flowers to strew upon the graves. Cub Scout Pack 162 out of Cashtown. And the Boy Scouts, ACTV's own Ben Mearns in uniform. Cub Pack 79 out of St. James Lutheran heading into view. with more flowers. The Zembo Mounted Patrol. John Wolf looking good in uniform. Helping the young flag holder, showing him the proper technique. Excellent job by the Cub Scouts. And the Zembo Mounted Patrol. Followed by their adjuncts. Not a lot of glory in the job, but somebody's got to do it. There are no small parts, only small actors. Some veterans, including Joe Sanders, in the Gettysburg, historic Gettysburg Sightseeing Tours bus. And an ambulance and the police escort wrap it up. So that's it. That's the review of the 1999 Memorial Day Parade. All 6 divisions. We'll head now to the National Cemetery where our coverage continues. Take something to the center. Just go there.
Why we should go? You and I will go together. I don't think we're going to use a tripod.
Okay.
You're not going to do talk play-by-play.
No. I'm just going to do like a wrap-up, a close.
How's that for time?
They are wearing gloves and everything. They're gonna pass out.
white convertible, you'll see Mayor William Trunks of Gettysburg. We interviewed him just the other day.
Thank you for standing in the way.
Officers, we'll be going by the right flank into the cemetery and secure arms. Once you hit the gates, go to secure arms and by the right flank. Attention! Battalion! At the muffle! Forward! Forward! side.
He participated with us last year in this Memorial Day service at the age of 104. He was one of our guests of honor last year at this service. And I'd like to tell you a little story about Mr. Hess. He's a very remarkable man. Every time I looked at him, I would think of my father because he also was a World War I veteran. But last year, it was a hot day like it is today, and Mr. Hess rode in the parade. He came out here to the cemetery, sat in one of these chairs all through the program. After the program was over, many of us went back to the VFW here in Gettysburg to get into our vehicles to go home. And Mr. Hess arrived looking for his vehicle, and the last thing I heard Mr. Hess say, he turned to a man that was driving him, and he said, "You know, it's been a long, hot afternoon." He said, "I think I'd like to stop in for a cold beer before I go home." Well, if Mr. Hess was here today, I would say to him, I hope you had that cold beer. You deserved it. And I would thank him for his service to his country, his service to the community, his service to us by participating with us last year. And I would say to him, thank you for joining us at last year's service. We will never forget you. God bless. Today, I'd also like to recognize the Memorial Day Commission. In your program, you will see there are 3 people listed that do a lot of work with their committees. The chairman is Lewis Welsh. The secretary, treasurer, and marshal is Charles Kuhn. And the transportation coordinator, David Williams. These people do a lot of work. And if you look at your program and see the listing of all the different organizations that are here today, you can see the amount of work that they have to go through. It takes about a year to get ready for this event each year, and I think they do a wonderful job. Our Master of Ceremonies today is the Honorable Stephen Maitland. Representative Maitland represents the 91st District in Harrisburg. Representative Maitland was born in Alexandria, Virginia. He attended Gettysburg schools, graduated from Gettysburg High School in 1980. He attended and graduated from Mount St. Mary's in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and he attended the graduate program at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. In Harrisburg, he serves as the vice chairman of the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee and serves on 8 other committees, caucuses, and appointments, including the Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee, the Judiciary Committee, the State Government Committee, the Policy Committee, and he's the vice chairman of the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. He is also a member of the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you our Master of Ceremonies today, the Honorable Steve